Duma, always good to see you. So as we head into level 2 of the lockdown, here's what you've been dealing with, the question about what has happened to the president's stimulus package.
Yes, South Africans have been asking what has happened to the stimulus package. And I did an analysis of this in my latest column in Business Day. And just without going into a lot of details, the government response started quite significant the way it was announced by the president. But when the Treasury announced the budget, they had cancelled most of the stimulus package. So what we have instead is a non-response to the biggest economic devastation this country has seen in a century. So that in a nutshell, so what I believe is that our economic response has been non-existent, and we have to have, in the economic recovery plan that the government is developing, we need to have a proper economic response for this devastation of this.
Interesting that you say that, because even business has said recently that the plans by government appear either non-existent or incoherent at this stage. And you wonder why that is when we've been in the planning phase since the beginning of the lockdown in March. We're now in August going into September.
You know, you can contrast that with the UK. The UK announced the economic plan 3 days before they went into lockdown. Now we are, is it 4 or 5 months into the lockdown, and we still don't have an economic plan for the country. And I think that is totally unacceptable. On Thursday in NEDLAC, I looked at all the presentations that came from all the parties, and everybody who was at the NEDLAC meeting agrees that the government's 17-page presentation was the worst. It was a cut and paste from different documents, and many of the data that they had was untrue, and it was just a rush job that they didn't even. It was a rush job, and the government is just not serious about developing an economic response.
But we're still battling then with why that is the situation, aren't we?
Yes, of course we are, yeah.
So, Duma, what is the way forward? Because what would many of us then who aren't experts on economics know that a lot of us are losing jobs, a lot of businesses are shutting down, and we're wondering what needs to go into a coherent plan?
Okay, you know what? We're not the only country affected by this. Every country in the world has had the same shock. No country that developed a response to this crisis could afford it, because it was a huge shock to the fiscus of every country. So there are 3 elements of any response. Number 1 is a humanitarian response, where you give money to households to support them through the pain that they're suffering. The second one is sort of like what government is working on, I hear now, is an employment strategy to expand the public and the employment, the public works program. So I understand that they're going to announce it very soon. It's imminent. It's about 20 billion rand that will be spent on expansion in terms of public works. And then the third one is a fiscal stimulus on the issues of infrastructure and so forth. So we have to blend those type of responses here. So the one goes to the households. The second one goes to employment and supporting companies and providing relief. Tavegile, the tourism industry won't recover until early next year. And we still don't have any kind of support for 1.5 million people who are in the tourism industry. It employs 9% of South Africans. And I think it's unacceptable that we had a fund, I think it had 200 million rands, it was finished and went to a few people. So we should be talking about developing new means to support that industry, and talking to people in the industry. The main problem that they're struggling with is paying the rents that they owe to the landlords. And maybe we should have done the Italian model where we announced an amnesty on rental payments and all kinds of payments of those sorts. Yeah.
I'm reading the BLSA CEO Busima Vuso's newsletter this week, and she says, I want to quote here, business is doing its part. We've mobilized significant resources to research and develop a plan. That may be true for BLSA, but is that the picture overall for business? Do you think business in South Africa is doing its part?
Yes, I was reading her response, and she did mention that they produced a well-researched 900-page response. And I might disagree with elements of it, but there was effort into it. And she contrasted this with the 17-page presentation by the government that just, everybody was just underwhelmed by it at NEDLAC, and that they have had so much time to prepare for this. And they even had the support of the President's Economic Advisory Council, which is supposed to input into this presentation. And all we got was a damp squib from the government in terms of their response here.
Economist Duma Gqubule, always good to speak to you. Thank you.